Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. And I want to say something that I'm not excited to say. We're starting to slow down with the college football news here, people. So bottom line is this. Listen, as I'm recording here, it is January 29th, 2024. We are 3 weeks removed from Michigan's national championship. After that, Nick Saban retires. Kalen Deboer leaves for Alabama to replace him. Jedd Fisch replaces Deboer at Washington. Jim Harbaugh goes to the NFL. We get some portal craziness, but January now is winding down. And with it, I think we're kind of sort of through meaningful, I don't want to say meaningful, but major college football news, at least until we get to spring ball here in a few weeks. With that said, though, it doesn't mean that interesting stuff isn't going to pop up that we discuss. And I think we got something very interesting on Monday afternoon as it pertains to a man I just mentioned, Kalen Deboer. But I think Deboer, to me, is going to be one of the most interesting people in college football to monitor in 2024. He's obviously taking over for a legend. He has an insane track record, but it is a different deal at Alabama, whatever. Now, as I've told you on previous podcasts, YouTube clips, whatever, I think he's going to be really good. I think most Bama fans are cautiously optimistic. Every Bama fan that I've spoken to knows, hey, there's only one Nick Saban. There will never be another Nick Saban. We're entering a new era of college football. But all things considered, we did about as well replacing this guy as we possibly could have. I bring it up because it's one thing for a guy like me in the media or a fan or whatever to say that they like Kalen Deboer and they think Kalen Deboer is going to work at Alabama. It's quite another for somebody who intimately knows Kalen Deboer to say the same thing. And frankly, somebody that owes a large part of his success to Kalen Deboer. Only that's exactly what happened on Monday afternoon. When Michael Penix, now listen, we're out of the college football cycle, but we're sort of into the NFL draft cycle. Well, Michael Penix is down in Mobile, Alabama. Michael Penix, I would hope everybody knows, former Washington quarterback, will probably be a first-round pick in April in the NFL draft. But Michael Penix is down in Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl, and he did an interview on Monday afternoon with WNSP Radio down there in Mobile, Alabama. Credit to them. They got a great interview. And Michael Penix, I thought, had some very interesting things to say about Kalen Deboer. Bluntly, some things that very much confirm what I have been saying since he was hired. First off, I guess Michael Penix was asked if he thought Kalen Deboer could win a national championship within 3 years. He said, and I quote, "Yeah, I believe so. He can absolutely do it." But then he got deeper into who Kalen Deboer is, what he's about, and why I believe he is going to, being Michael Penix, believes he's going to work. And he said something very interesting. He said, and this is a quote via, again, WNSP Radio in Mobile, Alabama. He's an amazing coach. He's going to push the guys extremely hard, going to make sure the players are 100% prepared on game day, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to light it up. That offense he installs is amazing. It's a lot of pushing the ball down the field. And again, he expressed why he thinks Alabama is going to win and win big under Kalen Deboer. And so I want to break down the quotes. I want to just talk about them quickly because, look, bluntly, listen, everyone's going to latch on to the, Michael Penix thinks he can win a national championship, he being Kalen Deboer, within 3 years. But to me, I think, honestly, it's the other part of that conversation that to me was much, much, much more interesting. Michael Penix talking about who Kalen Deboer is, why he works, how he works, what he's capable of doing, especially with that offense. First off, I thought the most important part of the quote was this. This is the most important part, in my opinion. He's going to push guys extremely hard. He's going to make sure the players are 100% prepared on game day. Why do I bring that up? It is because, to me, as a national sports talk radio podcast guy, I would argue that, to me, as an observer, that is the single most interesting thing and the thing that stands out the most to me when I watched Kalen Deboer's teams this year. I've said it to my buddy Ryan Fowler, host radio, Tide 100.9 down in Tuscaloosa. I have said I watched all college football. I would say from week 1, Labor Day weekend, until obviously what ended up being the final game of the season that Washington participated in, I don't think on a week in, week out basis, I saw a team that was better prepared every single week to go. Now, I know they played a lot of close games, but remember, they played in the Pacific Northwest. There were 3 or 4 games that were in driving rainstorms, unideal weather. But when you look at the big games, in the big moments, his team, frankly, was just ready to go and so prepared with a game plan that, it stood out watching that team, Washington, how prepared they were every time they took the field under Kalen Deboer. I've talked about it many times, but there were so many times, even just this season, where his team was largely outmatched from a talent perspective. Yet they went 14-0 going into the national championship game where they finally couldn't overcome it. But more than just overcoming a talent gap and a talent deficit, I just love the way, and I've said this before, this guy, I think everybody thinks he has a system. This is what he does. He's a system guy. No. What Kalen Deboer's system is seeing what you do well and trying to limit that from the Alabama perspective, and then seeing what your weakness is and exploiting that. And that was the thing that stood out watching Washington on a week in, week out basis. And I think that's what Michael Penix is talking about. I've said it before, but there were 3 or 4 games where it was obvious that they had a talent differential on the lines. And I know they won the Joe Moore Award offensive line, but they were not better than Texas. They were not better than Oregon in either game. So what does Kalen Deboer do? Rather than trying to force feed the ball down the middle when he knows he's going to have trouble running the ball, he instead has a bunch of short passes and gets the ball out in space to a Dylan Johnson, to their running backs, to allow the short passing game to essentially work as a run game. The opposite was true as well. Go back and watch that USC game. They figured out pretty early, we're going to get like 6, 7, 8 yards a run against this awful USC front. And they said, Michael Penix, you're a star, but the star tonight is Dylan Johnson. Dylan Johnson, the running back who had like 9 yards per carry in that game as Washington puts up 52 points in the win. And so I just bring it up because what Michael Penix said confirms what these two little eyeballs saw, is that there wasn't a more prepared team on a week in, week out basis. Now, in terms of what Penix said about the offense, let's talk about that really quick, because he said on the offensive side of the ball, they're going to light it up. That offense he installs is amazing. It's a lot of pushing the ball down the field. Now, I know what a lot of people will say to that. They'll say, well, Torres, Jalen Milroe is not the same quarterback as Kalen Deboer or as Michael Penix. You don't know what you're talking about. They're not going to be able to push the ball down the field with Jalen Milroe. Really? You sure about that? Yeah, positive? Because I actually disagree. And I think part of the conversation about Deboer and about Jalen Milroe and about Michael Penix, you have to go back to who Michael Penix was before Kalen Deboer got his hands on him at Washington. Now, remember, Deboer was Michael Penix's offensive coordinator at Indiana. He had a great year. Then Deboer leaves to take the Fresno State coaching job. And I hate to say it, Michael Penix wasn't a very good quarterback. Now, part of it was injuries. I'm not going to say that he's not a great kid or he didn't work hard, but he wasn't the same guy. 2 seasons without Kalen Deboer. 53% completion percentage, 56% completion percentage. Then he goes to Washington, 65% completion percentage, 66% completion percentage with 67 touchdowns over 2 seasons under Deboer. And so don't tell me that Jalen Milroe can't be some facsimile of what Michael Penix was. It's easy to say, oh, Jalen Milroe is not Michael Penix. Go back and watch Michael Penix that last year at Indiana. It was not pretty, not knocking the kid. I know he's a great guy, but part of it was the coaching. We cannot deny that. And what I would also say, and one thing that I will not do right now, is slander Nick Saban. That's not what I'm going to do. But I also think on top of the fact that Jalen Milroe is back, I think Jalen Milroe is probably better than people give him credit for. There's a couple other things to consider. One, we have to remember that offense last year under Nick Saban and obviously Tommy Rees calling the shots. What is obvious, what is factual, is that early in the season, they realized we can't be a vertical passing team. We don't have the wide receivers to do it. We don't probably have the quarterback to do it. And the offensive line struggled in pass blocking. Go back to the Texas game. Go back to the South Florida game. These are facts. It's indisputable. And so they had to build a run-based offense highlighting Jalen Milroe's strengths and weaknesses. And so I bring it up because I don't believe that Jalen Milroe is incapable of running an offense similar to what we saw at Washington with Kalen Deboer and Michael Penix. It's the fact that Alabama was not really equipped as a team to do it last year. Well, what are the moves that Kalen Deboer has made at Alabama since he got there? Brought his center with him, an all Pac-12 center. I believe the name Parker Brainsford, if my memory is correct. Sorry, my memory's getting bad. You got to forgive me. But center, that was maybe the weakest position on the field last year for Alabama. They just added an all Pac-12 guy. They also added the kid Jeremy Bernard, wide receiver. Washington, 34 catches a year ago, which would have been third on Alabama's team behind only Isaiah Bond and Jermaine Burton. So he's going to have weapons to work with. I haven't even mentioned, by the way, Ryan Williams, the 5-star reclass kid who committed last week, maybe as good as any wide receiver that was on that roster last year. Now it's going to take some time to adjust, to get used to college football. Ryan Williams is not an early enrollee guy, so unless I'm missing something, he's not going to get there till the summer. So listen, I'm not here to sunshine pump Kalen Deboer. I'm not here to say everything's going to be perfect, but I do think Michael Penix confirmed a lot of what I have told you going forward. By the way, one last thing on Michael Penix. Did you see what he said about Austin Mack, who was his backup last year at Washington, true freshman, who is now coming to Alabama as a transfer? This is what Michael Penix said about Austin Mack. He said he's a young guy. He actually reclassified, came in early. He wanted to be able to spend a year in the offense. Seeing me and seeing how I operated in the offense, stuff like that, I did my best just to show as much of the offense as I could and encourage him to keep his confidence up. But Michael Penix went on to talk about how talented this kid is and what the insane potential is for this kid going forward. And so that's another piece of this, which I think is as interesting to me as pretty much anything that Michael Penix said, is I am so excited to see Austin Mack at Alabama as well. Big kid, 6'6", big arm. This will be year 2 in the Kalen Deboer system. And after Jalen Milroe leaves after this year, in theory, he's going to be the guy to take over in year 3, fall of 2025. And so a third year in that system, all the natural tools. This kid is talented, man. This kid is talented. And you know how I know he's talented? It's because it wasn't until he committed to Alabama, he decided to transfer to Alabama, that Julian Sayin, 5-star number 1 quarterback in 2023, decided, you know what, I'm getting the heck out of here. And he transferred to Ohio State. So I am just here to tell you, I am so excited about the Kalen Deboer era. I think it's going to be it's going to be really fun and really interesting. I think it's going to work. Now, national championship by year 3, Nick Saban did it, but that was in a different era in the BCS, whatever. But Kalen Deboer is going to have a really talented team this year, and there's no reason, in my opinion, to think things are going to slow down. Thought it was very interesting commentary by Michael Penix. I'll tell you what, I know I said to lead this thing, there's not as much college football going forward, but man, oh man, am I fascinated to follow this team and this story into the spring and fall. If you enjoyed this video, do me a quick favor. Make sure to subscribe to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. A lot of college football, a lot of college basketball, a lot more coming your way. Enjoy the videos. Hope you enjoy the videos. We'll be back soon.